All right, looks like it's live. At least I hope it is. We'll find out soon enough, won't we? So, assuming that we are live and we're good to go, guys. Hello, it's Bart Johnson here, and today is December 1st. I can't freaking believe it's December already, and it is the first Friday of December. And it being December, that means two things. That means first, I have to decide whether I'm going to keep my no-shave November beard that I have going on here. And second is that it is time for my monthly show where Aperture lets me take over their channel for an hour or so, or however long we go, probably less than an hour. But and hang out with you guys and chat and talk a little bit of filmmaking and various topics. And so today we're going to be talking about staying creative, getting yourself out of a rut, because sometimes we can get a little bogged down and don't feel inspired and just, keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, especially if you do this, filming professionally. A lot of the times the projects may not be something that you're really invested in, like emotionally. It's not a passion project, and so that can bog you down a little bit. So we're going to talk about some stuff that I do to steer clear of that or get myself out of that sort of situation. So obviously today I'm not at home. I am actually in Boston, Massachusetts. I'm here in my hotel room. Here I can show you guys if it'll expose my sweet view. It's actually pretty nice out there. But yeah, I'm here in my hotel room in Boston. I have been here for the past week working and shooting a show. I haven't been home in 2 weeks because I was in Milwaukee, Wisconsin before that for about a week for Thanksgiving, visiting my parents. So I am ready to go home, and as you guys can probably see, I've got all my bags pretty much packed up. So after this show, actually, I got to check out of this room and get over to the airport and get myself going home. But I've been here, like I said, for 5 days and doing what I do full-time and shooting shows for a conference that was happening here. And so I want to bring this up because this is something that it really is almost formulaic in what I do. We set up a little studio, we run people through, and we shoot interviews and stuff, and then we cut a show each day and we put it out. And a lot of times the subject matter is interesting, but there's not a lot of necessarily creativity that goes into it a lot of times. It's kind of the same thing, same setup, just roll the cameras and do that kind of stuff. And so it can kind of wear on you a little bit. And so there are some things that I do to keep myself refreshed and inspired to keep shooting, because obviously filmmaking is what I love. It's also what I do professionally, and so you need those two to mesh nicely in order to keep yourself from going crazy. And so I'm going to talk to you guys about a few of the things that I do. One thing that I do, and you guys should definitely do, is make sure that you take the opportunity for yourself sometimes when you're not working on a project, or you're not working on a paid gig or something like that, but shoot for fun. It's extremely important to remember. I'm assuming that anyone who is interested in filmmaking, you got into it because you liked it. It's something that you were passionate about, something that you enjoy, and you want to make sure that that passion and enjoyment stays with you. So I get to travel a lot. Like I said, I'm here in Boston right now. And so even in some of my downtime, I'll go out and explore the city and bring a small camera with me. I got my GH5 here. It doesn't have to be anything crazy, but just what you got with you, go ahead and take it out and go and shoot. And it doesn't even have to be something that ends up anywhere. It doesn't have to be something for something. You can just shoot just for you, so that you can experiment with different styles of shooting. You can experiment with different angles. You can hone your craft. You can just shoot something because it's a beautiful city or an interesting place that you've never been. And so just going around and exploring and taking something with you that, is not going to bog you down, not a ton of equipment and stuff like that. So it's really easy, so you can focus on just the enjoyment of shooting and filmmaking. And that's a big thing for me. A lot of times people think I'm crazy because, it's like, all right, well, you shoot for a living, and yet during your free time you still go out and shoot. And yes, I do, because I enjoy it, and I want to make sure that I continue to enjoy it. So going out and shooting for fun is something that you really need to almost actively schedule yourself some time to do, especially if you're traveling like I do a lot. There's a lot of opportunities for that. But even if you're not traveling, like, go to some place you've never been before and maybe just spend the day hanging out, checking it out, and shooting some stuff. Maybe you make something to pop up on YouTube. Maybe you make something that doesn't go anywhere. You never do anything with the footage, but that's fine. It's for you. So whatever you want to do with it. I see we have some comments coming in, so I am monitoring the comments, guys, and so I'll periodically answer some of those as we move along our path through here. So if you guys do have any questions for me along the way, please feel free to pop them in there, and I will see that. So I see Joseph Gregory is asking me, always 4K or 1080p. You know what? It depends on the project, depends what I'm doing, depends on the camera. I still do have some cameras that don't do 4K, so. And a lot of times with the GH5, I'm just shooting 1080. So, it really depends on the project. But back to sort of our thread here of trying to stay creative. And this I actually put in the title. Oh, sorry, guys. It's a little chilly in Boston today. Actually, I wanted to say that too. I was going to do this show not in my hotel room, but out and about. It's December in Boston, so it's a little chilly, and it was really windy, so I decided to stick in here instead. So hopefully that works there. But one thing that's really important, like I said, and I even put it in the title here, is try something new. And so what happens is we end up getting sort of formulaic with our processes. There's a way that we like to shoot, there's a way that we like to edit, there's a way we like to do things, and it works, and so we keep doing it. But then I find that sometimes my projects end up becoming a little bit sort of cookie cutter. I have a formula that I use when I'm doing it, and that sort of sucks some of the creativity out of it for me. So I like to try new stuff, whether it be new editing techniques or new shooting techniques. Always want to try and find something new to try out. And so I'm going to tell you guys some of the new things that I've been trying out that I find really fun, because it's, there's always new techniques coming out. You can find them online and all sorts of stuff. People are doing crazy stuff with the technology as it's advancing. And, this isn't stuff that I learned how to do necessarily in film school. And so I have the opportunity, and we all have the opportunity, to continuously grow and develop our skill set and add new skills to it. So, me just saying like, oh, I went to film school, I learned how to shoot, and I'm going to stop learning there, that's ridiculous, So I'm always going to be learning, and you should try and always be learning as well. So the first thing that I've been doing lately, and I've been trying to get into a lot more because I've never done it and I don't really know how to do it well, is time lapses. So time lapses, you see them all the time. They're great for, transitions between scenes sometimes, or even just in their entirety. They're freaking amazing. And, there is really a skill to it. You can do it the sort of cheating way where you just roll video for the whole time and then speed it up in editing. But I really wanted to learn how to do it where you actually set it to take a series of photos, so you can play with your shutter speed to make stuff blur and disappear and stuff like that. And so I really want to experiment with time lapses. So I've been shooting a lot more time lapses for fun, on the GH5 and some of my other cameras, and doing it the real way of shooting a series of photos and then putting it together. And so that's new for me. The photography aspect of, changing and messing with your shutter speed to get different effects and stuff is something that we don't deal with a lot in video, because we're usually sticking to, our cinematic shutter speeds. But you have so much flexibility when you're moving into photo, which is really, really cool. And so it's enabled me to sort of, I'm not very good at it yet, admittedly, so I've got a long way to go, which is something that I like because I can continue doing this. But it also makes me look at things differently. So even now I'm just like, I'm looking out my window here over the city of Boston, And what it has me do is I'm looking at the world in a different way. I'm looking at what is stationary, and I'm looking at what is moving. And I'm looking at what is moving, like how fast. You know, like, are the clouds moving fast? Is the traffic moving at a certain speed? Are there lots of people moving about? And so I'm able to sort of train myself to look for these moving elements and see, you know, what in my scene might make for a good time lapse. And it's just a different way of looking at the world and looking at your scene. And I really enjoy it. It really opens my mind up a bit to be looking at it and, you know, not just necessarily looking for framing, but thinking about time. Like, what's going to change over time for me in this scene. So, pardon me, guys. Got the sniffles. Oh, my bad. But yeah, so that's something that I would really encourage you to check out. If you haven't done time lapses before, maybe dive in and try and figure that out. And there's tons of great tutorials on YouTube. You know, I'm like self-taught completely in time lapses. And there's tons of tutorials you can look up and you guys can check out. And who knows, maybe if I get good at it, I will put a tutorial on my YouTube channel, which is a perfect segue into a shameless plug for my YouTube channel. If you guys aren't subscribed to me, Bart Johnson Productions over on YouTube, make sure you guys go check that out. I got lots of good stuff, and maybe a time-lapse video coming someday if I get some ones that I'm really proud of. And then, you know, there's stuff like motion control and, like, you know, having slides in a time-lapse and stuff like that. That requires additional gear and investment, and that's something that I would recommend staying away from. Don't spend money to try and stay creative. Try and be creative with what you have. Like, look at what you've got and see if there's some different stuff you can do with that. You know, it doesn't matter what camera you've got. It doesn't have to be the latest and greatest. Just go and try some of these things out. But yeah, please don't take away from this that you need to spend money to get additional gear to stay creative, because I don't think that's true at all. So let's go ahead. I'm going to go through and answer some of these here just real quick. So Naris is in here. How you doing, Naris? You say you forced yourself to make a short film in Spanish. Yeah, that's a great way to test yourself. You know, trying to do a film in another language, it's going to change your mindset and the way that you're thinking about it. So that's really cool that you did that. Thanks for sharing that. And is there anywhere that we can see that? I'd love to check that out and see it. Hopefully it's subtitled, because it's been years since I spoke any really decent Spanish. But let's see here. What else we got? Should I use Magic Lantern for Canon 5D Mark III? I knew, of course, we'll get gear questions in here. It's inevitable, so that's okay, guys. I've never used Magic Lantern for 5D Mark III, so I can't personally comment on that. I know it adds some cool features. I know it adds, you can shoot RAW, but I think it's kind of a tricky workflow. But I personally can't say yes or no, because I do have a 5D Mark III, but I've never used Magic Lantern on it. So actually, I've never used Magic Lantern on any Canon camera or any camera at all. So what's your favorite run and gun lens for the GH5? That would be actually right now the lens that I have on here. So let's see if we can see that. I guess I'll put it so it's sort of right side up. I guess everything's reversed because it's on the phone. But the 12 to 35 millimeter, this is the version 2, the Lumix version 2 12 to 35 millimeter. I absolutely love it on this camera. It works. You get the dual stabilization with the lens and the in-body. It's a pretty decent focal range. You know, it's equivalent to like a 35 mil 24 to 70, which is a pretty decent range. So not super wide, not super long, but really good for running and gunning and running around. And this lens like lives on here. So yeah, that's what I would say for that one. Let's see here. Okay, so we got never stuck, never bored, and always inspired. Well, you are out of the norm then, my friend. That's good. That's great that you're staying that way. And maybe you can share some tips if there are some things that you're doing to always stay inspired and stuff like that. Because, you know, some of us, and I think most of us, do get to a point at some time where you just feel kind of drained and you don't feel like you've got anything else flowing through the, you know, the brain cells there. Thoughts on master classes? Is there a way for me to see these in full? This is, let's see here. Good enough. Thoughts on master classes. I think they're really cool. I've never actually watched any yet, but there are a few out there that I really do want to check out because I think there's some amazing information and some amazing people are doing them. The Ron Howard one that I've seen advertised really interests me. So I really want to check out that Ron Howard one in terms of master classes. And if you guys don't know what he's referring to, master classes are sort of these online courses that you can pay for. And they're like video presentations and classes by all these greats, you know, writers, you know, artists, or, you know, music artists and directors and screenwriters and all sorts of stuff. So there's some great stuff out there. They are kind of spendy, but I think in the end they'll totally be worth it. I attended a course through MZ. It was Alex Buono, the cinematographer for Saturday Night Live. I got to go to his like 12-hour class in person, and that was freaking great. I loved it. Let's see here. One more question before we continue. It's going to be cheeseburger or hot dog. Man, cheeseburger all the way. Nothing against hot dogs, but cheeseburger all the way. So continuing on, some of the stuff that I either am getting into or want to get into to continue increasing my skills, sort of an extension of time lapses like I just talked about, is something called drone lapses. And I apologize again, guys. It's been cold here in Boston. I'm getting the sniffles. And of course now I get the sniffles the worst. But something called drone lapses, which is, it's literally a time lapse, but with your drone. And so look this up on YouTube because there are some amazing ones out there. Some guys have done some incredible stuff. And so basically what you do is, you know, you put the drone up in the air, you frame up a shot, you pick a starting position and ending position, and you program it to just do the move automatically on its own. You know, the DJIs can do that. You set the points and tell it to take, you know, all right, take 20 minutes to get from this point to that point. Don't go longer than your battery life, obviously. And you tell it to take a photo like every second, every 5 seconds, however long you want your time lapse to be. And you basically get a time lapse in the sky. And they're so cool when they're done well. So if you have a drone, look up drone lapses and see if that's something that you would like to try out. And it's something that I haven't had the chance to do yet because most of the places that I travel to and where I live are big no-nos for drone flying. So, you know, I got to get to a scenic location and, you know, farther away from airports and all that kind of stuff. But look into drone lapses. I mean, it's a perfect example of something that, you know, didn't exist even just a few years ago. And now it's like this whole new art form that has been created because of our advancement in technology. And so that's one of the things where, you know, there's always new stuff and new capabilities out there and new ways to use even old tools. And it's really cool. So, you know, that kind of stuff gets me motivated. I think you can tell I'm even like feeling like higher energy now. And it gets you going and keeps you moving, keeps you inspired. And you can add that skill set to your, you know, to your resume, not necessarily a physical resume, well, maybe, but just knowing that that's something that you know how to do and that you can then master. That's really cool. And I think collecting those skills over the course of your life, you know, not just filmmaking skills, but all of them, is really important. And so it's that whole thing of try something new. Break free from the path that you're on if it's starting to feel a little monotonous. I'm not saying leave the path. I'm just saying step off the path for a little bit. Check out some other stuff and then come back and see if you can bring what you've learned into it. And, you know, I think you'll find some pretty cool results. So another thing that I've been doing lately, and if you guys follow me on Instagram, you've probably seen a few of these photos go up. So these aren't even video, they're photos, but it's still a cool way to keep your brain creative, which is what we're going for. And if you don't follow me on Instagram, follow me on Instagram. It's at Bart Johnson Prod, P-R-O-D. You'll find me. But I've got a few of these photos on Instagram, and what they're called is tiny planets. And so they're taken with my phone. And what you do is you just take a photo with your phone. It can be a panoramic or it could just be a regular photo. But there are a few apps out there that make these things called tiny planet photos. And what it does is it wraps the photo into like a sphere. And so it looks sort of like the way those like 360 camera photos look. Pardon me again, guys. Really sorry. but it's with regular photos, right? So it's really, really cool, and I have been obsessed with this lately. I have been shooting these tiny planet photos left and right. Like I said, I've posted a few to Instagram, I've posted a few to Facebook, and they're just fun. They're just a new way of taking a photo. And what I'm learning while I'm doing it is what the best way is to frame up a photo. Like, what works better? Like, how much sky should I have versus how much this? Like, where do I need to frame the stuff so that when it wraps, it ends up looking cool? And it's a completely different way of thinking about just snapping photos with my phone than I've ever done before. And I'm really, really enjoying it. And it also helps me look, like I said before, my brain is now looking for stuff that would be really cool if it were tiny planetized. And so I would show you guys, but I'm using my phone right now to stream, so unfortunately I can't. But look into tiny planet photos. They're, you know, it may be a passing fad or something like that, but that's okay because it engages me with the world in a different way than I usually do. You know, I'm usually looking at it, let's be realistic, I'm looking at it in like a 16:9 form of mentality. I'm looking for that kind of framing. But this allows me to look at the world around me in terms of wrapping, like spherical. It's really cool. And you know, not every subject matter works for it. So I'm still honing and figuring out how to get the coolest results out of this. But yeah, it's awesome, and I'm obsessed with it right now. It's ridiculous. If you follow me on any of the social media, you've probably seen some of them, and you might get a little sick of them, but too bad. Sorry, I like them. All right, we got another comment here. Personal projects are the best way to keep motivated. Yeah, definitely. So, you know, if you do have a personal project and it's a passion project, of course you're going to be invested in that and you feel creative in working on it. But you know, sometimes you might not have a personal project going on, and so you may be sitting there. So you could come up with another personal project, but maybe you're doing stuff like I do, where I'm doing this for a living, and I don't have a whole lot of control sometimes over the content and what the product is going to be, and it starts to feel a little repetitious, and I got to break myself out of that funk. But definitely personal projects are an amazing way to keep yourself creative, because it's yours. It's your project. Of course you're inspired and gonna feel creative in that project. So those are great. You know, if you do have the time, start yourself a project. You know, come up with something. Think of something that maybe, like, oh, remember like 7 years ago when you know, you and your buddy were hanging out and you had this story idea and then nothing ever came of it. Do that. I actually did that, what was it, a year and a half ago? A high school buddy of mine decided he wanted to direct a movie, and his first script idea was really similar to something that kind of already came out, so we scrapped it, and he was like, well, I need a new script. And I was like, what about that treatment that you sent me in high school, which was like over a decade ago, guys? And he's like, oh yeah, and I still had it saved, and we resurfaced it, he rehashed it, he completed the whole story, we shot the short film, and it went on to win a whole bunch of awards at different film festivals and stuff, and it was awesome. It was great. You know, it was an idea that dug from way far back, you know, back in high school for us. But yeah, dig back and see if you got some stuff rustling in the closets up there, and do that. You know, that's always a great way. So let's see. We covered time lapses. We covered drone lapses. We covered tiny planets. Similar to tiny planets, I'm sure everybody is familiar with 360 cameras. So I don't have one, but I think that they would be really cool to experiment with. Again, because it makes you look at the world in a different way. And this doesn't have to be like you're shooting a video in 360 for something. Just go out and play. You know, if you have just, like, they even make attachments for iPhones now where you can shoot, you know, 360, or like, doesn't have to be a great camera, like a cheap first version like Ricoh Theta. You know, not going to be awesome quality, but it's not about that as much. It's not as much about the quality of the finished product necessarily as the process for me, and looking at things differently. And so 360 is something that I have not got into, but I would be very interested in getting into. And if any of you guys have done 360, please go ahead and comment, and maybe share a link to some of your work if you've done anything cool in 360, be it videos, photos, whatever. Or maybe you've even found another cool way to use 360. Just share it down below, because I'm always looking for new stuff, and I love being inspired by other collaborators' works. You guys out there. I can always look at big Hollywood films and stuff like that, and you know what? I don't draw a whole lot of inspiration from them most of the time. Most of the inspiration comes from guys like me, you guys out there in the community. And so, please share what you're doing, what works, what doesn't work, and that kind of stuff. I would really be looking forward to that, and I'm sure everybody here would appreciate it as well. The last thing that I really want to try, and this is going to be the next thing that I really want to get into to try and stay creative, is cinemagraphs. So I don't know if you guys have seen these before, but it's sort of like a hybrid between a photo and a video. So it ends up being basically like a photo, but most of the photo is still and frozen, but there's like a few elements that are moving. Like maybe it's like coffee being poured, but everything is still, but just the coffee pouring is like an infinite loop of the coffee pouring. So these are really, really cool. And I think Aperture actually has a few videos on their page, and maybe even on YouTube. Neris, if you're in here, maybe you can confirm that for me and maybe share a link for people. But they had some stuff about what a cinemagraph is and how to do them, and I really want to do that. Once I tire of tiny planets, you guys will probably see some cinemagraphs coming from me. And so that's another skill that I don't know how to do it. I mean, I know technically how to do it. I've seen the process, but I don't know how to do it and make it look good. And so I want to get into that. I want to try that. I want to be able to say, here are some cinemagraphs that I made. These are really cool. And now I know how to make cinemagraphs. Adding that to my bag of tricks, and I think it'd be really fun to go around. And again, it's that looking at the world in a slightly different way, where I'm going to be like, what could I freeze, but what would be cool to be moving? And so it's just, it breaks me out of that mindset of just 16:9 framing, and now I'm looking at motion. Time lapses, obviously, I'm looking at how things are going to change over time. Tiny planets or 360, I'm looking at the world as a sphere instead of a plane. And cinemagraphs, I'm looking at motion. And so they're fantastic. It seems like a fantastic, and I'm really excited to try them out. But it seems like a really cool way to really train your eye for motion and movement and cool stuff like that. And even just talking about these things and thinking about it, I'm getting excited about trying these things, which is the whole idea. These things won't end up on my YouTube channel. I'm not going to post a cinemagraph on my YouTube channel. I'm not getting paid to do them. It's just something for me to keep myself fresh, to keep myself learning, and to keep myself inspired. And those are important things to do. You don't want to get stuck in a rut. It can happen. You can feel uninspired. You can feel like you're just making cookie cutter projects over and over and over again. And some of these things, these are just the things that I've been listing, guys. So, I've got my list here of things that I have done and things that I'm planning to do. But if you guys have more, and maybe stuff that I haven't even heard of before, please share that. That would be awesome. I'm always looking for more stuff, and I'm sure anybody who's tuned in and watching this right now would also love to have that information. Because, we're all here to learn how to stay creative and add these new skill sets to our thing. So there we go, guys. That's what I've got on my list right there. So if you guys have any questions, I'll hang out for a few more minutes and hang out with you guys. And if you have any other stuff that, like I said, I didn't mention, or maybe that I don't even know about, that's, you know, cool ways and new stuff to try. You know, it doesn't have to be video. Maybe it's photo. You know, I'm doing photos with the tiny planets, and I guess cinemagraphs are sort of photos as well. And the photo even is a whole new world for me. You know, they're, you know, video and photo, everyone's like, oh, they're the same. Well, a lot of the rules transfer over from one to the other, but it really is a whole different animal, and I want to start playing with that. So if you guys have anything, if you're here live right now, please go ahead and add it and make a comment. Or if you're watching this on the replay, please go ahead and add some stuff there. And if you have some links to some of your work, some cool stuff that you've tried out, you know, maybe it's just doing like long exposure stuff, or like you've messed with the shutter speed and got some cool effects for, you know, video or photo. Or if you've done absolutely anything else, I don't know, maybe you've shot, I'm just like brainstorming off my head, maybe you shot something entirely blacklight with like, you know, neon paint and accents and stuff. Like, that would be really cool. I might have to add that to my own list now, and see how that goes. But just, you know, anything that pops into your head that you just want to try, it would be cool. And there you go. So let's see. We got some comments coming in here. So my friend Iara says hello. Is that Iara Beckham that I know from way back in the day when I was her summer camp counselor? If so, then tell her I say hello. That's awesome if that is indeed her. Yes, guys, long ago, I was a summer camp counselor for probably almost a decade. But yeah, cool. She says yes. Hey, Iara's in here too. Well, good to see you again, Iara. Well, I guess you can see me. I can't see you. I can just see your name on the screen. But cool. But yeah, guys. So basically, you know, staying creative and staying inspired is really important, especially if you're in the industry and maybe you're not in charge of the creative aspects of a project or something like that, or you're sort of churning stuff out over and over and over again. It can get monotonous, and then it can get you feeling down. And so you need to go out, you need to do passion projects. You need to find new techniques and try them out. Do something new, learn something new, because you're not only entertaining yourself and inspiring yourself, but you're improving yourself, because that's now a skill that you know how to do, and do well if you do more and more of it, which is really cool. Yara says, you got me into filmmaking. That is awesome. I'm so glad to hear that. So guys, quick, just a little side thing. When I was a summer camp counselor, I ran a little program, and it was called, we had like merits, were like Boy Scout type things, but it wasn't Boy Scouts, but I did a film merit, of course, and so I would let the kids like create their own films, and they were quite entertaining and quite good. So that was a lot of fun. But yeah, guys, I am going to be wrapping this up in just a moment here. As you can see, I'm mostly packed, but I do still have some last stuff to get packed up, and then do a dummy check of my room and get out of this hotel and get to the airport and finally go home for the first time in 2 weeks. So I'm ready to go home. I'll tell you that. But it has been great hanging out with you guys. And if you guys want to hang out with me more, if you want more of me talking about stuff, and sharing information and sharing cool stuff, like I said before, I am on YouTube. So Bart Johnson Productions on YouTube. I have live shows on there every Saturday, which means I am going to be live tomorrow. So back at home in my studio, but I'll be live on there Saturdays at 1 p.m. Don't forget. So you can join me there, or just check out my YouTube channel with all the previous videos and tips and tricks and stuff, and follow me on social media. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter, and I am on Facebook. So go ahead and find me there, and feel free to reach out to me on any of those and communicate and collaborate. And I'm always down for meeting people and hanging out and talking, and I absolutely love it. So I think that is about all that I have, except for wrapping it up by thanking Aputure once again for letting me come and take over the channel and do this show for and with you guys. So it is the first Friday of every month that we will be doing this show on here, and it just so happened that December 1st today is a Friday, so the first Friday. So I will be back again in January, I think. Let's take a peek here. I'm gonna pull up my where the heck is my calendar? There it is. I'm just gonna make sure that it's not like New Year's Day or something like that. The first Friday in January is going to be the 5th. Okay, so January 5th. I will see you guys in about a month. We will be live here again on the Aputure page. We will have a new topic of discussion for you guys, and look forward to that. And I look forward to you guys coming and joining me. So if you guys have any last minute questions, doesn't look like it. Oh, Yar says, thanks for your work and dedication. Thank you so much. That's awesome to hear. I'm so happy that I was able to inspire you so long ago, and that you're still going with it. And guys, hopefully I can inspire all the rest of you as well, and help you to inspire yourself by doing some of these new and cool things. And please do comment down below if you have new stuff that I haven't heard of or haven't tried, because I'm always looking for more. I'm going to be doing this for my whole life, so I'm probably going to get bored at a few points along the way. I'm always going to need new stuff to learn and new stuff to try out. So guys, keep on shooting out there. Try not to get down. Try not to feel like you're uninspired or your creative juices just aren't flowing anymore. And hopefully I have helped you out. I will see you guys here on this channel, same place, same time, next month in January. Oh my God, it'll be 2018. Whew, time's moving too fast. But have a good holidays coming up, guys. And if you want to hang out before January 5th, I'm on YouTube. Come and find me. All right, guys. Take care. I'm going to go get packed and get to the airport.